Okay, I understand. You want to start a fascist regime in whatever country you live in. No matter how big or small, fascism will rule them all. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, to the point. If you want to start a fascist regime in your country, you're going to need to know a few steps and a few terms to help you. First, you must know the difference between the different classes in the class system. So, for the lower class, they're obviously poor, seeking lower class support, aka welfare. They have very little to lose. They are seeking lower prices, shelters, jobs. They are usually lower educated and are reliant on the government. The middle class is relatively wealthy, still relies on welfare, still advocates for lower prices, is easily manipulated, usually able-bodied, seeks jobs, relatively financially secure, mostly educated, but a lot of them also are in debt. The upper class, on the other hand, usually has, of course, high income, advocate for high prices, full and filled with propaganda, usually out of shape, financially secure, educated, spoiled, powerful, and put minimal work. Now onto the bourgeoisie/elites. They are filthy rich, loaded, highly educated, very powerful, string pullers, quote unquote, don't work, usually have servants, ownership of the means of production, usually capitalist, exploitation, globalized influence, concentrated power, and profit-driven. The reason you need to know the difference between the classes is because in a fascist regime, you must ally with the bourgeoisie. As for one, they can help you get the political power needed to coup the government, and two, you don't want them rising up later against your regime. So, now that we've gone over the class system, now we will go over some definitions you need to know. First is bourgeoisie in the Marxist context. The capitalist class who owns most of society's wealth and means of production. Proletariat. Workers or working class people, regarded collectively. Class, a set or category of things having some property or attribute in common and differentiated from others by kind, type, or quality. Communism, a political and economic ideology that advocates for a classless society in which the community or the state owns and controls all of the means of production, such as mine and factories. And you do not want this. Avoid this as much as possible. Fascism. A far-right, authoritarian, ultranationalist political ideology characterized by a centralized dictatorship, the forcible suppression of opposition, and the exaltation of the nation and a dictatorial leader above the individual. This is what you are going for. This is what you want. Nationalism. Identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of other nations. Autocracy. A system of government by one person with absolute power. Corporatism. The control of a state or organization by large interest groups. Militarism. The belief that a country should maintain a strong military and be prepared to use it aggressively to defend or promote its interests. Totalitarianism. A system of government that is centralized and dictatorial and controls many parts of people's lives. Okay, now that we're done with that, we need to go over what type of fascism you will be following. As fascism comes in many different forms, whether that is Mussolini fascism, also known as classical fascism, neo-fascism, which is fascism that utilizes modern concepts and ideas, Nazism, well, you probably get the point of that one, and there are a lot of other options you can follow. But today I will be going over classical fascism, so let's get right into it. First step, build your initial support. Now, this might seem really obvious, and yeah, it kind of is, but this step is actually very complicated, as it has a lot of side steps. For example, let's say your country has just gone through severe economic hardship. You can use that as a rallying cry to get more people to support your cause. In the modern era, it has never been easier to spread your ideas and your platform. For example, on social media, you can easily get a huge following of people who will support your cause. Back then, though, it wasn't so easy. For example, how Mussolini got so much support was he edited and published a multitude of different magazines that the Italian people would read, and eventually they started supporting his message and supporting him as a politician. Step 2. Exploit the class system to your advantage. What I mean by this is go back and find all the things that each class needs or wants. Then you can use these talking points to eventually rally dozens upon dozens of people from every class to support you. For example, for the lower class, guarantee welfare. For the higher class, guarantee financial security. It also doesn't matter if you actually fulfill these promises or not, because if we take a look at especially modern American politics, you don't need to fulfill your political agenda. Just get in power, that's all that matters. Step 3, coup the government. Now, this might sound like a huge step from step 2, and it kind of is, but if we look at historical examples, you could see it's really not. Mussolini, during his march on Rome, got his supporters to, well, march on Rome. And the king was so overwhelmed by the amount of people that were supporting Mussolini, he made Mussolini prime minister of Italy. The Nazis' beer hall push is another example. And even though it did not work, and a majority of Nazis got arrested, it still exploded the Nazis' popularity, allowing them to sweep other parties in future elections. Until eventually the Nazi support got so big that the prime minister just made Hitler chancellor. Step 4, control all outlets of mainstream media. So now that your party is in power, you must keep that power and you must keep the people happy. And if you control the media, you control the people. You must remember this. The people are dumb. They can be easily manipulated. Most times they will vote or support someone who has a cooler message or a cooler catchphrase. The people are idiots. Use that to your advantage and take control of mainstream media to spread propaganda all around your new nation. Alright, now for the final step, step 5. Appoint loyalists to government positions. Okay, now this might sound kind of counterintuitive as you're getting rid of people who actually know how to do their job with loyalists, but remember, the thing isn't about making your country good. That's not what this is about. It's about getting yourself in absolute power. So you have to make sure the people in government do not revolt against you. So make sure you absolutely staff those courts with loyalists. After you successfully follow all these steps, you should have yourself a fascist dictatorship with yourself at the center. Now, with your powers, have fun invading Europe. I don't f***ing know. Just do whatever at this point. You have complete control over a country. Just make them build you a bunch of statues. I don't know. Also, please, YouTube, for the love of God, do not nuke this video. It's just for educational purposes. I'm not promoting this ideology in any way, shape, or form. Please do not nuke me.